Hello everyone, this is DrGAKMAN here, Garrison Andrew Kane. As always with new Nintendo hardware, I try to get my speculation out there, my ideas, my wild little doodles or whatever, but this is very crude, but I've taken up a step. Going based off the rumors, I guess the first thing I should say, there's so many things to say, and I feel like I'm running out of time because of, it could be revealed at any moment, but I just want to get some of my ideas out there. This video is twofold, that and to show some size comparisons between what may possibly be the dimensions of the NX and its controllers that attach to the sides. I've made two little styrofoam models. I found some styrofoam that was about the thickness that has been rumored, which is there was one set of measurements that were given. I can't remember the name of the website. I should have wrote all this stuff down, but like I said, I'm doing this very crudely and just jumping around here. But there's two sets of them. One that was like, the length of it was 281 millimeters, and that just doesn't make sense, especially if it's supposed to be a 6 or 6.2 inch screen on it. That would be a lot of buffer area, on the sides of the screen here, making this much, much longer. And then they said with the controllers off of it that it was 205. I believe that Emily Rogers or somebody else made the comment that that 205 is probably the dimensions with the sticks, or with the controllers attached. So to give a size comparison here, this is the original Game Boy. Yeah, this was considered a portable back in the day. Much thicker, not really pocket-sized at all. But as you can see, compared to the unit itself, the unit is still, or the NX is still rumored to be pretty big. I'm going to be going here, there, and everywhere with this, but not very organized in my discussion here. Hopefully I don't talk too much about that, because there's plenty of other stuff to talk about. But, I'm just winging it here. But I made these little models based off of the dimensions that I believe are closer to the truth. Now, the dimensions that were given by Emily Rogers and others, and I'm totally team Emily Rogers here. I am not of the belief that the NX was secretly a console the whole time. No, I think it's what Eurogamer said. It's a hybrid. That does not close out the speculation or the idea that later on they might bring out a standalone console, but as it is right now, I think the first release of it is going to be a console portable hybrid. Wow, there's just so much to say, and I don't even really know where to start. But again, I'm team Emily Rogers, team Eurogamer, team NVIDIA Tegra chipset. There's another set of people out there, I won't even name them because I think that they're a little bit loony bin. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm saying that the way that they come to their conclusions is very dogmatically wrong. But they can believe or speculate all they want. I think they're more of the camp of, I don't believe this stuff, A, and B, it's not what I want. So I want a super powerful PlayStation 4 Pro chew up, eat up, defeating Nintendo powerful console. Well, it's not going to happen, but that's just my opinion. And the way the rumors are going, through many others that kind of corroborate each other, I believe in them. Now these dimensions are of the prototype or the development kit, so it could be wrong. It could end up being thinner as the final product. It could end up being smaller. It could end up being bigger. I think the NX itself is going to be a family of systems, starting off with this hybrid, of course, to sell the idea that you buy these cartridges, or cards, and you can play the game at home or on the go across all the different platforms. The first platform being a hybrid. Later on there might be a cheaper home console only. It may be a little souped up, I don't know. Of course, there's some people in the camp that are going, hey, here, let me show you a size comparison with the it sitting inside of the 3DS charge station. Fits in there actually pretty nicely. It doesn't fit in there flush, of course. It hangs out over the top. Of course, it's not going to be the same size as that, but I think you'll come home, stick it into the charger, and pull off the controllers off the end, and then be ready to go to play on the home console. Wow, where do I go from here? Let me just continue to show some size comparisons. This is my phone. It's not a great phone, but it can run Pokemon Go and Miitomo and stuff. It's a, I think, KitKat Android, LG. I think it's like Android 4.4 or something like that. I can't remember. The screen isn't like huge, as you can see in the size comparison here. The screen of the NX would be larger. It's rumored to be a 720p screen, which is higher resolution than the gamepad screen for the Wii U. But the screen itself would probably be smaller, so it's going to look sharper. Some people are already complaining that it should be some kind of stupid 4K screen or something like that, yet they want it for under $200. People are idiots. Let me show you a size comparison between a Game Boy Micro and one of the side controllers. About the same size, maybe a little bit smaller. I think the overall goal is to make a kind of like a Wiimote 2. So here's a Wiimote in comparison to these controllers. It's about half the length of it, almost. Pretty small. I have pretty big hands, so I'm going to show like how to hold it later on in this video when I set the camera down. Let's see here. It's made of styrofoam, so hopefully it doesn't break all apart as I'm doing this. Here's a smaller Wiimote made by a third-party company. I think it's Power A or PDP. Oops, I took the battery pack off of it. It is Power A. They make somewhat pretty good third-party controllers. It'd be smaller than that. I want to show, too, the thickness of it. Let me turn this around on its back. Here is the battery cover for the Power A thing. That's a little bit too big if it's going to have AAA batteries. Of course, the battery cover itself is bigger than the, because when you look at here, there's the hidden button and the notch and everything that it holds into. So the battery cover could be this small. So when you side by side on that, it could still fit in there with AAA batteries. Here are AAA batteries, but even still, it could probably still fit AA batteries, which are the standard for the regular Wiimote. You could still fit that. Still thick enough for that. Also thick enough for that, and this is my own speculation, but let's show this right here. For the Wiimote plugs. Now, the reason why I think that the Wiimote extension plug will still be in there, as you can see here, it would be thick enough to fit that, is, you know, to give more options for instance, the classic controller can plug in there. Some people are going to find this controller too small for classic games or traditional games. That's another way to sell these. They have the NES Classic Mini, or whatever they're calling it, that's coming out this November. It's going to have, you know, the 30 games preloaded, and that will be using the Wiimote extension plug. And you can plug in a classic controller, or they're making NES remake controllers. I imagine later on, if that's successful, and it will be, that they'll have like a Super NES Classic. And then, of course, the 64 and GameCube, and maybe even possibly all the way up to the Wii. And each one of these is either going to be compatible. The Wii one would be, of course, compatible with Wiimotes. But this is much later in the future. They've got to do the Super Nintendo one next. but that they would have Super Nintendo controllers, or you could use these controllers to plug into the system itself. Which means, as Virtual Console progresses on the NX, and people start to bleed over from these classic systems that are really cheap over to the NX, they can bring their controllers with them and plug them into the new, I guess you can call it second generation Wiimote, or third generation if you want to count the Wii Motion Plus. But either way, that's just my speculation that they would have the plugs. They might not have the plugs in the bottom of that, but there's certainly room for it if they wanted to do that. I want to show the bottom of this. As you hold it against the machine itself and use it as a portable, on the back there would be kind of like an L2 and or L1 and an L2, or they would call it ZL or CL, kind of like on the back of the nunchuck here. And also on the other side for right, that would give you 2 buttons on the back. I was of the camp of them having a scroll wheel like on modern day computer mice do, but that's something that may be saved for the future. It still could be done. I would like that, but no one really knows. I'm just going lowball on this for now, just to be safe. Okay, what else can I do size comparisons for? Here is the 3DS itself, regular 3DS, not an XL. When I sit this on the NX screen, as you can see, it's still bigger. But when you open it up, you can see that the screen is going to be huge in comparison to the 3DS screen. It's going to be like larger than the XL screen, not as large as the gamepad screen. Here's the whole unit together. It's still going to be smaller than a gamepad, as you can see. So that's kind of nice. Not really pocket size, but you could probably put it in a case or something. It'd be smaller than a tablet. I really don't want to make the comparisons to a tablet, but of course people are going to. Here it is in comparison to the 3DS card. Here's, I think, the look that they're going for as a second or third generation Wiimote. The look that they're going for is to make it look like kind of like a stereo remote, very small, thinner, certainly more sleek than the original Wiimote, which might be more inviting, especially with, this is going to have clutter everywhere, whereas these is basically going to have 2 positions for the thumbs. Let me see if I can hold this right. This would be the first position and the secondary position, and as I'm holding this on the back here, you can see that, you could probably put your 2 fingers here and hold it pretty nicely, or go with your index finger up and down. This would be the main position and the secondary position. Now, some people have made their artist renditions of it, and they want to make it more, I don't know what the word is, but like have space between the 2 and have this all the way down on the bottom. That'd be kind of hard to do when holding it like a Wiimote vertically. And if these are going to be like freeform controllers like the Wiimote when they're detached, then that's going to be a problem. So that's why I think all of the, most of the mock-ups that we have seen have them more closer to the top. If the controller is broken into thirds, it'd be the top 2 thirds, where the bottom third is left for the share button or start and select or whatever other idea may be out there. It could be a speaker. It could be some kind of home button. It could be some kind of button for, I'm thinking like on my LG phone here, when I go to turn it off, it has multicolor, a multicolor button there that shines all different types of colors. That's something that they could do. It could be the Nintendo emblem at the bottom of the controller, and that could be for syncing. That could be for controller identification, like this player 1 is red and player 2 is, you know, blue or whatever. And then like if there's two controllers, one for each hand, left-handed, right-handed, if they're both the same color, then you know which ones are yours because they're not tethered together physically with a cord like the Wiimote nunchuck were. You know, that's just an idea. I'm not saying that that's what they'll do, but that'd be kind of cool. The speakers are something to talk about on the unit itself. Going by the dimensions of the screen, this basically fills, if it's a 6 or a 6.2 inch screen, that's pretty much that whole area right there. I mean, that's a lot of space. So there's no room really on the face of the unit for trying to turn my phone off and it won't turn off. Junk. That's a lot of space for, there's not a lot of space for speakers on the front, buttons, power button, whatever, home button on the front. There just isn't. So that's kind of a problem. It could be that, like on a lot of cell phones, that the speaker's in the back, your hands would not be covering it up from the back because your hands would be on either side of the unit, not across the back like this. It'd be more like this, you know. So that's something to talk about. What was the next thing that I was going to say? Yeah, there's the camp of people who go that the dock is going to be dumb. Certainly one of the questions that was given to one of the people who were leaking information was, hey, this has got a port to hook up straight to the television. Does that port go through the dock? You know, because if it goes through the dock, then the dock could theoretically soup up the visuals. You know, but if it plugs straight into the television already, then it's not really doing anything through the dock except for charging or adding the USB capabilities to it. But the answer was that it could do both, meaning, you know, if you take it out with you and you don't take the dock with you, but you take the cable to hook it up to a television, you can hook it up to a television straight on, without charging it or without docking it or powering it up or whatever you want to do. It would just be a straight plug-in, like kind of like the PSP 3000, and I think maybe even the Vita did it. They had a cable. Or when you do take it at home and you plug it into the dock, it can plug in through the dock there. The dock, I think, will be for charging and for communication to USB. The USB could be used for, I forgot to bring down my GameCube, the Wii U GameCube ports adapter. It could be used for one of those, especially for Smash Brothers. I mean, that'd be cool to be able to use the GameCube controller yet again. It could be for adding power, of course. I do think that the dock that's going to be sold with it is going to be not a dumb dock, but it's probably not going to soup it up. There was the rumors and the patents for SCDs, which off the top of my head, I think it's I can't remember what it stands for. Gee whiz, I'm not prepared for this video. But it's basically was going to add more either memory or processing power to the base unit. So, like, let's say you had a 3DS that could go into the dock like this. While it's charging, it could also communicate to Bluetooth controllers, and it could also, inside the dock, there would be something that would soup it up to give it more visuals capabilities or more power. Not just to charge it, not just to add communication to the USB. You know, it would also add more capabilities. Now, I don't think out of the box it's going to be like that. I don't think that the dock that's going to come with it is probably going to be a cheapo one. Later on, they may bring out a dock that has some kind of pass-through functionality that soups it up. And maybe also, if you plug it into the dock, it will kick the system like laptops do into a high-power mode. Now, this is something that's important. When I first saw these pictures from Eurogamer, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, we got to think about a lot of things. Number one, if it's going to have detachable controllers, we're gonna have to figure out how those controllers are going to charge. Are they going to charge through a charge cable? Are they going to charge through induction charging wirelessly? Are they going to charge through the unit itself? Which means that once you get home and you want to play this at home, if it's pulling from the battery of the unit and you pull the controllers off, they're going to be dead. If they've been played all day, it doesn't matter if you're charging the dock of the system if you can't use it at home while it's charging. That's kind of defeats the purpose of, hey, I got home, now I played on a big screen. Well, you can't because the controllers are dead. So it could be a case of you plug the controllers into something that charges them, a battery pack or whatever. But I think what's more likely is that it's going to have AA or AAA batteries like the Wiimotes do. And that it's going to have a low power mode when it's plugged in to the main unit and being used as a portable. It's not going to pull power from the portable. It's just going to run on its own power, but it's going to be in a low power mode, which means it's going to have very limited rumble. It's going to have very limited it's not going to communicate through Bluetooth. I don't think it's going to communicate through a connector either, but we'll talk about that later. It's not going to communicate through Bluetooth. It's probably going to communicate through the IR patent that they talked about, where once it is attached, it'll line up and send IR signals to the base screen system unit to tell the game what buttons you're pressing. But it's going to have limited rumble, limited probably motion controls, because you're not going to be waving the whole damn thing around when you're playing it as a portable. So it's not going to use as much power. And then that way when you get home and you charge the base unit, you're charging the battery for it and not the batteries for the controllers that are attached, because you'll be detaching those controllers, then using the regular batteries, AA or AAA, because they'll be in higher power mode in console form or in console mode, which would mean that they are using the AA or AAA batteries, or a rechargeable battery pack if you get those later on. Third-party accessories make a lot of money for companies, so they could have rechargeable batteries in them, but if they do, it better be in induction charging, or it better have some kind of low-power, high-power solution like I'm suggesting here, so that as soon as you get home, you can use it as a home console. It totally defeats the purpose of hey, I get to play this at home as soon as I get home if the batteries are dead in the controllers. I know that there's other solutions like buying separate controllers or having a separate controller for home or whatever, but why have them be detachable controllers? That was the whole supposed gimmick of the original pictures that were shown, that it was going to have that all out of the box. So charging is a whole other thing. I think to make it cheaper, it's going to be AA, AAA battery cover, and then you could get some kind of charge units later on, charge cables and all that stuff. Connecting and locking. How is this going to lock together? Some people have said, slide. I like that idea, in that you could slide it here or on the other side, or you could flip it upside down and slide it, and yada yada yada. Arrange the controller however you want. And then that way, the lock is the slide itself, and it saves space, and on the controller itself, yada yada yada. However, the rumors are that it's actually some kind of latch system that you press a button to release, which makes a lot more sense. If you go home and you plug this into the base unit, you want to be able to take these controllers off really easily from the base unit, leaving this part on, and then having these ready to go to play as a home console. It's really well thought out by Nintendo if it's going to be a latch system. I don't like the latches. Durability are a problem. They could break. That's extra movable parts that could be a problem. It could protrude out of there too much. Certainly the crude drawing that was given, it's going to protrude out of there a lot to stick into the screen, and which means that it might not be comfortable to hold. However, as I thought about the slide thing, where I was like, oh, you could arrange it, here or there, or upside down, or whatever, that's a problem. It's got to be, one controller has got to be on the left side so that there's only one connector and one lock system. And the other side's got to be on the other side of the unit. With that way, it only has one connector and one kind of locking system. The cool thing about doing it that way is if this is always left and this is always right, they could connect to each other if they do the lock system right. My battery on my camera is dying really quickly. This video is already way over long, but I think I'm getting a lot of information out on how this is going to work. Let me see if I can set down this camera and give you an idea of how I think this can be held. Okay, so this is it being held like a Wiimote with the first and secondary positions, as it being held like a Nintendo old school controller, and then look where my fingers are, that's where L and R buttons would be. Now, if it's one is set as left and one is set as right, and there was two camps here too of trains of thought here where the sticks have to be at the top position and the buttons or D-pad have to be in the secondary position. The problem with that is that means that the L and R buttons, when held horizontally like this, would have to be on the outside. But by changing the position, making them asymmetrical like the GameCube or like the Xbox, where the buttons are in the first position on the right-hand side and the stick is on the secondary position, then when you hold the unit, it's held, and the L and R buttons are not exposed and getting caught and getting broken, like often with many portables. They're tucked on the inside of the unit when they're being played as a portable. So that's ideal. You don't want to have a bunch of buttons just getting gummed up or stuck or broken, hanging off the outside edges of the controller or the portable. So that's kind of cool. The third thing, wow, I've gone off on tangents here, is communication. I talked about before, they have the patent for the IR. When it's connected, it's going to communicate in a low power mode to the IR. I don't think when it's being used as a portable, it's going to be using Bluetooth. That's just going to use too much battery. And a physical connection, if it's already going to have a lock system, then it would make sense to have a physical connection. And of course, if they break, then you can replace the controllers. I imagine if you bought a set of these, it'd be $50 or $60 together. Individually, I imagine anywhere from $20 to $30 a piece. They could have all different types, by the way. They could have, different button arrangements and different color schemes and yada yada yada. But not really getting into that. But I think when it's in a low power mode, when it's in portable form, it's going to communicate through IR, not through a physical connection, because that has more things to break. In other words, it's not going to be like a connection like this straight into the unit. I mean, it could be, but I'm thinking that's why they had the patent for the IR stuff. Just like the Circle Pad Pro with the 3DS, it communicates through the IR port right there. So that could be a thing. And that brings it to a low power mode. I do believe that it's going to have a pointer at the top, just like the Wiimote does. That was really something that didn't get taken advantage of a lot. But I think, they said it can communicate with up to 8 of these things. That would be brilliant, especially if they sell them in 2-packs for $50 or $60. You got instant multiplayer when you buy one of those packs, and the system itself, you got 4 players right there, and then you could always have more. And if somebody brings over their own system, then that's another 2 controllers, and who knows what else. Lots of ideas, great ideas, I think. It opens up a world of possibilities. As I was talking about low power and high power mode for the controllers, I do think that the high power mode for the controllers would be, when it's being used as the console controllers, and low power mode would be when it's being used as a controls for the portable. Now the portable itself, when it's being run, it doesn't have to when it's being run as a portable, it doesn't have to run like 810 or 1080p graphics. It only has to run whatever the resolution of the screen is. I think the assets of the games that will be made from that point on will be twofold: the 720p in portable mode, low power mode, and a high power mode. They said something about a fan. There could be a fan in the charge unit. You stick that in there, it cools it off, it runs it in high power mode, and it runs it at 1080p, and that's all from this. The dock isn't doing it. It's just like a laptop. When you're plugging in a laptop, you got the backlit screen, you got the full power mode, you don't have to worry about the battery dying. It's charging as it's going. It's, in high power mode. Later on, other docks could be released that have the SCDs in them that add more power. That's a whole other issue altogether. But I think out of the box, it's not going to be a dumb dock, but it's also not going to be an SCD dock or anything like that. What's the other things? I wrote down some stuff. I think this is pretty brilliant the way they laid this out for comfort for a portable and comfort for, let me show you this again to give you some idea. This controller is small enough that you can actually use it like this, and then the other one held the other way. It's not going to hurt anything. You got your stick here and you got your buttons here, both on both sides when they do it asymmetrically, and you got your L and R buttons, and it's held. I've got big hands. It's held pretty comfortably. It's really small, but it's totally doable. And for those who want, more robust options or better options, you can plug them together like that. If there's some kind of base unit that they slide into or plug into together, or maybe they might lock together if it's a left-right lock system that plugs in left lock to the left side of the unit, or like, let's say, to give it more simpler terms, this could be male, female, male, female, and then when you take them apart and put them together, it's male and female together. They could lock together like that. It could be nice. Making love. These are just a bunch of size comparisons, a bunch of ideas. I had the other idea of, instead of it being a slide or a connector, it could also be a clamp. Now, the cool thing about a clamp is that it could clamp onto not only just the portable, but it could clamp on to the sides, and you could use it like for backwards compatibility with the 3DS or DS. It could, clamp on normally. It could clamp on with just one, or this, being used as a Bluetooth controller for a cell phone, it could clamp on to either side of a cell phone or on the bottom of the cell phone. If it has some kind of lip system that you can tighten on the side of the controller to clamp onto it, and then you could clamp it on to, like if you don't find it comfortable to hold your portable like that with it straight on, you could always unclamp it and clamp it together like that. Who knows? That's just a silly idea. I think it's better than a physical connection. The spring in it would have to be really strong, but they already have Bluetooth controllers that attach to cell phones that are like that. And plus, that's another selling point for it. Hey, you can plug it into your cell phone, these controllers, and use them as a Bluetooth controller. Wow, this video is now almost 35 minutes. I have really over-explained everything, as I tend to do. Throughout this video, I'm hoping to have some post-production things, which you have already seen if I do that. I want to show pictures of how I think the buttons could work, the D-pad being turned into buttons, and so forth and so yada yada yada. I have layout ideas. I have pictures from other speculatory things, to give examples of what I'm talking about. I'm excited. Here's another, size comparison with everything again. I don't think it's too big, and I don't think it's too small. I think it's really well thought out. When I first saw the pictures from Eurogamer, like most people were probably going, what the hell? You know, these things are too small. Why are they arranged like that? Why is the D-pad used as buttons? That's going to gimp the controller, yada, yada, yada. I probably said that too many times too. But I think it's a good idea, and it's one of many ideas. I think the NX is going to be a family of systems throughout its lifespan, its generation. And just like iPhones or cell phones and stuff like that, it's going to have like further iterations. There could be, with a clamp system that I was talking about before, the screen could be smaller. The screen could be bigger. They could come out with a 3D screen. They could come out with a 1080p HD screen later on. They could come out with a smaller screen to make it more portable in pocket size. You know, any number of things. They could do a lot of things. They could make it to where there's some kind of unit that goes behind a cell phone. You use your cell phone screen or your tablet screen. You don't have to use, you know, the screen of the NX itself. That way it can make it cheaper. You know, it's really well thought out. I tried to come up with some drawings myself. Now this video is getting over 36 minutes. Let me show you some drawings of some different kind of D-pad layouts that I had. I think this is probably going to be the way that they go, where it's going to be like buttons raised out of a D-pad, rocker D-pad. This is the idea that I had before. This is, you know, where I first came up with that idea. Oh yeah, I talked about a head-mounted display. This right here could be put over your head, and then these would be free-form controllers for virtual reality later on, possibly, maybe, I don't know. There's some kind of unit that plugs them together, or some kind of handle that you can slide the controller into. There it is with the cell phone. There it is. I was talking before about bigger screen, smaller screen. This was the first thing that I had. I had the idea of flipping this so it could be a D-pad on one side and a stick on the other. I don't think that they'll do that. They did have concepts like that in past patents or past prototype controllers for the Revolution and or the what would later be called the Wii. I predicted a lot of the things with the Wiimote. This is when I was trying to come up with sided controllers that were not, you know, this on the top, so that the controls would be on the top and the bottom. That's not very comfortable as a portable. But it makes it more like a NES dog bone controller. I don't think that that's what they'll do. These are somewhat the actual dimensions that I drew out. These are, before the dimensions came out, this is kind of my idea that I had. You know, I don't know what the final product will look like. But going by the rumors, this is a good size comparison, just to give you an idea, and just to give you an idea of how it can be held, you know, horizontally or vertically like a Wiimote. Horizontally like a NES controller. Yeah, can be held together either with some kind of thing that keeps them together, or they could plug in together themselves, make a fully functional controller. Yeah, I mean, I really like it. This is crude. I'm sorry this video is long, overblown, but just getting some of my ideas out there before it possibly gets revealed. Thanks for watching. Sorry this was so long. Hopefully you get a better idea of where Nintendo may be going with this. Hopefully you get an idea of what I was trying to say. I discussed a whole... disgusted. I am disgusted. I discussed a whole bunch of different things. Sorry for the length of the video. And again, thanks for watching everything. I have a Facebook, facebook.com/DrGAKMAN. That's my personal Facebook. I have an NX picture up. It's kind of like got a long topic in there talking about lots of different things with the NX up and until the reveal, which I think will be September 13th, but I could be wrong. Who knows? Now this is fast approaching 40 minutes. Sorry. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much, but... hopefully this was informative, exciting, whatever you want to call it.